The three traditional factors determining a tank's effectiveness in battle are its firepower, protection, and mobility. Firepower is the ability of a tank to identify, engage, and destroy a target. Protection is the tank's ability to resist being detected, engaged, and disabled or destroyed by enemy fire. Mobility includes tactical movement over the battlefield as well as strategic mobility, the ability of the tank to be transported by road, rail, sea, or air. Here's a bit of trivia for you. Tank was the code name for the top secret British military project started early in the 20th century, which changed the way ground battles are conducted. Tank was a new vehicle for providing infantry support in ground battle situations, and since that day, the tank has changed the way ground battles are conducted on planet Earth. With me is Major Hasnain Haider from the Armoured Corps Center.
Hello,
Major, thanks for being with us.
Welcome.
And you are going to run us through Pakistan's arsenal of different tanks, historically and now in the current scenario. So this here is the T-59, and this here is the T-59 M2.
M2.
Right, now tell us a little bit about both tanks.
This one, the first tank, this was the first MBT the Pakistan Army had.
And MBT is short for main battle tank.
Main battle tank.
Right.
It is called the T-59. It's a Chinese-built tank which was inducted prior to the 1965 war. This has seen both the wars, the 1965 and the 71 war. It has got a 100 mm cannon and a 520 horsepower engine and 8 inches of raw cast iron on it. It's a very robust tank, and many generations of the cavalrymen have trained and fought on this one.
Right, and this is an upgraded
This is an
version.
upgraded version. It is called the T-59 M2.
Right.
The upgradation has come in the engine. It's got a bigger engine. It has got a 105 millimeters main gun.
Right.
And plus it has got hydraulically operated systems and stabilized firing systems.
Now, what sort of terrain are these tanks
These are
familiar with and capable
These are
of operating in?
medium main battle tanks, and they are mostly used in the semi-hilly or the plain terrain where we employ these tanks.
So, I would say that the Punjab
Yes.
is a good place for
Yes,
these
yes,
tanks to be deployed in
Yes.
because of its terrain.
Yes.
Okay, now let's
Then we
work
move on, and this is the latest variant of the T-59 family, and it has been named as Al-Zarar by Pakistan Army.
Al-Zarar. How fitting.
Yes, this is basically mounted on the same T-59 chassis, but it has got a much bigger engine, which is almost 730 horsepower. It has got a 125 millimeter main gun. There's add-on armor on it, as you can see, and the gadgetry inside is totally changed.
Now, I've read that it has these ERAs.
The explosive reactive armor plates.
Right.
Now, this is one of the latest defense against anti-tank guided missiles, which is installed on other MBTs of the world.
Right.
It features some of the latest equipment and gadgetries which the modern tanks and other armies also have. And this is slowly and steadily it will take over the older versions which I have just shown you.
So, are the older versions which you just showed us, are those still operational in the Pakistan
Yes,
Army?
very much. They are
But
still
aren't they
operational.
outdated considering
No.
they've been around since the 60s?
They say that there's a very famous English proverbial saying, it's not the rifle but the man behind it. The training compensates for any inferiority in equipment as such. And our people are trained to the best level to fight under all situations and all circumstances.
But considering what perhaps other countries possess, the weapons which other countries possess, how do these weapons measure up
There
to
was
that?
a time when M1A1s were tested in Pakistan, and the firing report of this T-59, a very basic tank, was better than the M1M1.
This was during General Zia's time.
The General Zia's time.
And that's why the M1A1 wasn't
yes,
conducted.
rejected.
In fact, I think he was seeing the firing of
Firing
the
of-
M1A1
yes.
before the plane crashed.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's move on. These are the pride and joy of the Pakistan Army.
Sir,
aren't they?
these are the latest tanks anywhere in, latest MBTs anywhere in the world.
This is the Al Khalid, and
This
that's
is the recently developed Al Khalid tank which has been developed by Pakistan, and this features some of the latest systems which any good MBT around the world can have. This is the T-80UD, which is basically a tank of Russian origin but developed by Ukraine and inducted in the Pakistan Army in around the last years of the decade of 90s.
Right. Now, what sort of terrains are these guys deployed in?
These are basically meant for desert and semi-desert belts of Pakistan.
So high speed and long range.
Yes.
High speed and long range.
Long range, yes.
Right. Versus the Al Zarar, which you said was better suited for the Punjab.
Punjab area and plains area.
Right. And a little bit of history here.
This is the T-85. This is the T-85. This is also a tank of Chinese origin, which we inducted in service during the so-called exercise brass tacks conducted by India. After that, this was interim measure to stabilize the semi-desert and desert areas of Pakistan.
And this nearly saw action during the escalation.
Yes, all of these tanks have almost seen action in the recent escalation, because when time of escalation comes, all the available military power is put into action. It is geared up to go into action.
Excellent. And there's a little bit of history right here. This is the T-34, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. This is a T-34 tank. It is of Russian origin, and this is the tank which gave the Russians the final edge in the Second World War.
Right.
This is, and I must add to it that this is a running tank. It is not only a model, but it is a running tank. And probably very few pieces around the world are in this condition now. And this tank has got a 75 mm barrel and about a 500 horsepower engine. Very robust tank. It saw the Russian army through the conflict and made them victorious in the battle.
Now, has it seen action as far as Pakistan? India
Yes, they
battles
were
are concerned?
They were inducted in the Pakistan Army in pre-1965 war, and they have seen that era. Yes, they have seen action in Pakistan Army also.
Excellent. Pakistan's vast arsenal of tanks, ground. The basic purpose of a tank is to support the infantry in ground battle. Sometimes they lead the charge, sometimes they're behind the infantry. But the bottom line is that they, more or less, are supposed to be invincible.